All right. Hello. Welcome to our first co-dreaming call. Oh, it's so good to see people here. And it's an experiment for me. So I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. This is great. Um, so, ah, before we really dive in, I just want to say, since I am going to be sharing this recording on my blog, and sometimes things get personal in these calls. So if you want to say something anonymously, you can post things in the chat. And I won't read names when I read comments from the chat. So we could have conversations that way without anyone knowing who it is. And I won't be sharing the chat, outside of this. So that's the way to be anonymous. Getting all these Zoom messages pop up. Okay. So I'm just going to mute everyone for the start of the call, but there is time to talk, to come on. And also no pressure. I see people are turning their videos off. Yes. Never any pressure to have your video camera on at all. And you can come on and speak with just your audio too, just totally whatever you prefer. So welcome to Co-Dreaming, and thank you for joining me in this experiment. I'm going to be doing these calls every Monday all summer, or for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, it's going to be the winter. By August 28th will be the last one. And I'm just excited to see what we can do having these weekly times of going deeper into our creative dream practice. So I did send out a link, and I shared a post that was like a guide to creative dreaming as a practice. And because often when we think about our creative dreams, it's like, I'm here, the thing I want is here, and the path is like really difficult and vague, and often we don't know how to navigate that path, and we're looking at it just as the external thing, and we're looking at it as an accomplishment. And so when we can experience and approach creative dreaming as a practice, which is a spiritual practice and a creative practice, really, of being who we are, then there's all this richness, and there's all this medicine that our dreams have for us. There's healing and growth that is all suddenly available to us in that practice. And then we can use that to move forward with the external parts as well, by kind of bringing it all together. So if you haven't read that guide, the link is with the Zoom details, and it'll be with the replay as well, which I'll send out after the call. So yeah, so another way, I guess the short way I wanted to say that is that engaging with your dream is magic. You don't start out already seeing your way through, you create the way through engagement. And the last part of that guide says that you are the magic, your practice is where you access it. And that is what I want to do with these calls over the next 11 weeks, is practicing that. And so I am doing this like introduction to it, like kind of explaining things today. I won't be doing that on every call. We'll just start by diving right in. So my favorite way to get into the practice is this imaginative form of alchemy meditation combined with journaling. So it's really just a way of using your imagination and your creativity to access your intuition. I have said this a lot, your dream is your soul calling you towards your true self. Like your preferences, your desires, your dreams, these are all ways of accessing the authentic you. And it's like we live in a world that doesn't encourage that. And so it can start to be very complicated and confusing. And listening to whatever it is that you prefer, whatever it is that you're dreaming of, this is a way of reconnecting to your own truth. And so that's how I'll start these calls, with alchemy meditation. And it's like a guided meditation that I will lead you through, but I want to encourage you to listen to your own intuition about the way to do it. One of the really important things to me about my work is that when I hold space for people, I'm not asking everyone to do the same thing. Or when I'm leading up a process, I really want this to be a space where we're all listening to our own inner voice and then sharing our process and learning and growing together. So it's a really rich and magical thing to be in communities like this. I've especially the last couple of years, I've been so appreciative of our calls together in the Dream Book community, where we're able to do this work together and each bring our own parts to it. So as I lead the meditation, feel free to disregard or change anything I say to make this work better for you. You are never wrong when you're listening to your own self, right? So I'll take a deep breath, check in with your body. I always want to like wiggle and stretch a bit before a meditation, just noticing what it is that you need in order to be comfortable. And close your eyes and take a couple of nice deep breaths. Just kind of gently bringing your attention inwards. Anytime we talk about our dreams, it can stir up a lot of things, right? So just making space for you to feel however you feel, to be wherever you are, just being with yourself. So the thing about approaching creative dreaming as a practice is that you have to do it with your whole self. So you can't push certain thoughts or feelings away. So just all parts of you are welcome here. All parts of you are part of the work. So when it comes to creative dreaming as a practice, you can bring your fears, your doubts with you on the path without making them the whole truth of who you are. So who you are is magic. Your dream is your sacred calling. And even when sometimes they feel impossible, like this is actually your soul showing you who you are. So imagine sinking deeper inside yourself and notice how there's no end to how deep you can go. There's no end to your own depth. And imagine as you sink deeper and deeper into yourself that you can find inside of you your dream self, which is the version of you who knows how to do what you want to do. And this is the part of you who is deeply connected to your intuition, your creativity, your power, your special gifts. This is the part of you who's confident about your dreams. This is the part of you who knows how to navigate everything you have going on in your life to make this thing happen. So just going with your imagination, what does your dream self look like? Just trusting whatever happens in your imagination. It might be weird or vague or unexpected. It's totally okay. The process of connecting with this part of you can be instantaneous or it can take some time. Neither way is better than the other. Now ask your dream self to show you the path from where you are to where you want to be. So what does that look like? Now, sometimes this gets weird, but sit with this and follow what your dream self is saying. Notice the thoughts and feelings that are coming to you. What does this tell you about what is next for you? So you can just sit with this, or you can take some notes in your journal. You could even draw out the path if you saw something clear enough. or write about how it, like, what are the feelings that come up? What are the thoughts that come up? So nothing happens by accident in creative dreaming as a practice. We've been doing these co-dreaming calls and dream periodically where we just show up and like work on the next steps together. So as I explained in that guide, that includes dream work, inner work, or outer work. So sometimes people would use this time together to organize their studio or work on new creative projects, or ask to be coached through inner work or help like brainstorming, clarifying what it is that they want to do. So if you have a sense of what you want to do next with your dreams, then use this time with the Zoom or with the replay, kind of feeling connected to the energy of the group. Use this time to do that thing. You can even mute us if you want to focus on your own stuff, knowing that you are a part of the group. Or you can use this time to be in community and talk with us about what's happening with your dreams, which always, whenever we do this leads in really wonderful, kind of really wonderful, rich discussions. So if you want to talk about what came to you in the meditation, or if there's something happening with your dreams that you want to discuss, you can unmute yourself and talk to me. You can leave comments in the chat. You don't have to be on video. You could speak to me just in audio. And remember, if you want to be anonymous, you can leave comments in the chat and I will not say your name. I will read them out and we can talk in that way. So did anyone have an experience in the meditation that they would like to share?
I would be happy to do that.
Awesome.
So there's just something really interesting that happened that I would love to share, because maybe someone can relate. But when you had that vision of the dream self, I like ran through in my mind of myself like dressing creatively or looking that part of that wildly creative woman that I've always had a vision of. And it just felt so tiring. I'm like, I don't know how to be her. And so it was, instead, because I'm a busy mom, I'm a business owner, I'm all these things. So this idea of trying to look apart just felt exhausting. And so I immediately knew that was not the windy road to go down. And instead, I just had this vision of like the dream self that I'm wanting to be. Like, it's just like this heart led, like, it's not an external anything. It's more of a like who she is like this big heart light of just trust and vibrancy, and the opposite of worry and over concern for her children or for her businesses or things like that. It was like this very clear picture of just this like bright light from my heart that really is what I crave more of, not any sort of like exterior, what other people might think a dream life looks like. A dream life for me that I'm craving more of is a vibrancy, I think, and a trust that just allows for that next right step and the next right step. So it was a clear picture and I really loved it. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Sylvia. Yeah, I love that. That's actually something that keeps coming up in my calls with people, like the expectation of what we think it should look like. And then also the ways that like kind of the world's expectations get kind of fog up our own idea of what we're supposed to do. And it feels to me more and more like if we're not checking in inside, and if that's not a huge part of our process, we get lost in that stuff because it's always coming at us. And then when we listen, like what we really want is usually so much simpler.
Yeah. And like for me, there's this weird, like I've always been athletic, and there's this combative process of being the creative person versus the athletic person. Like this, it's like, it's really hard to be both. And yet I really am both. I don't like, there's no, try to put me in a box, right? I won't fit. And so I just think often we do try to find a box like, well, I'm the creative person or I'm the athletic person. And it's like, it's so exhausting to try to fit into those boxes. And instead, like being wildly both, but I don't know what exactly that looks like. And so instead of what it looks like, I tapped into what it felt like. And it was just very much that heart focused trust, I would say. The opposite of fear. Fear is a frequency that I feel like has just like blanketed the world. And it's been so tiring, I feel like. And so the opposite of that fear frequency is just this loving trust that I want to live from in my life.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
That stuff feels so much simpler because it is like, I feel like the world creates all these boxes and then we're like trying to be all over the place. And I love how you said, remember how you said it, but oh, it's exhausting, right? So then that actually probably that frees up energy to ignore the box and just be
Yeah.
your, yeah. And each part of us is so valid too. Like, yeah, like the athletic part and the creative part, each brings something different to your life and a different richness. And I think in a lot of ways, a lot of people will like focus on one part and try to like hide the other parts or like just decide something is more important. And like all of us is needed.
Mhm.
Do you have a sense of what is like, as if you're thinking about creative dreaming as a practice, what is the practice then right now for you to support you with that?
So let's see. Writing is always for me the most natural practice that connects me to who I really want to be and who I really want to show up as. And so um, I'm actually going through a really fun process of I created a business, and that business was actually a line of supplements based on my own struggles with postpartum issues after I had my daughter. And it was this very like entrepreneurial, but really what's funny is like people know me as the mood probiotic lady. And yet I'm like, that's not even me. Like I just created this product because I had a problem that I wanted to solve. And so now like that business is really established, I actually have a lot more free energy to just say like, okay, if I don't feel like that's my essence, what does feel more like my essence? And so I've started creating books because I've always loved, like when you talked about the journals on your Instagram, like, well, maybe if I just buy another journal. And like there's those of us that are like, yeah, I've done that. I've done that. And that's that was definitely and is a me thing. Like paper books, like if I have a stack of them beside me, it's like my teddy bear, so to speak, right? I feel like, okay, I feel safe, I feel guarded and grounded, and because I can write anything down, like I can just release it. And so, anyways, all that to say, I really feel lit up by this dream that definitely feels to be calling me and pulling me in of creating books. So I've created some coloring books and I've created some appreciation journals and joy journals, and I am using KDP as a platform. And I just feel like for the first time in a really long time, I'm like back in my lane of creativity, which feels like home. And I feel like the idea of that athleticism, it was very much a mirror to my entrepreneurial creation with my supplements. So it was like very male centric energy of like achievement, like get it done, work hard. And this new creation of mine that I'm stepping back into creativity as a practice is more of a feminine, flowy energy. And actually, that's why I named it Honeypot, because that has multiple meanings. And I was tapping into some feminine energy of flow. And so the practice that has really pulled me into even penciling in this Monday call and considering the Dream Book group is really that idea of like, I can be more and more of that true self and still make really good money doing things I love. So trying to find that's like the merger of what I was saying, the athleticism versus creativity, the feminine versus the masculine, of balancing that effort and all of that. So that was a very complicated answer, but
Yeah,
right.
no, that's like, yeah, that's why I wanted to do just calls where we could just like talk because like if I try to talk about it, like how complicated it gets is ridiculous. And all the things it brings up in you and like the other thing I say is your dream is always asking you to grow. And so it's like that growth will be unexpected. It will be the things you don't want to face. And then like sometimes there's these beautiful magical moments, but sometimes it's just really messy and awkward and like all of it. So that is so cool the way you're bringing that together in that new way.
Thank you.
I do see a little bit happening collectively too, like as we think about who is our post-pandemic self and all the ways that we've changed, the ways the world changed, the way we want to change things. Like it feels like everyone's really changing and it's really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that feminine idea is a very unique one of like, rather than I can do everything a man can do, right? It's like, it's actually kind of tiring and exhausting too. Like, I'm on a totally different cycle than men. And so trying to honor my cycles and my flow of like, no, actually, you are better at that. And that's okay. Like, it goes way back for me when I was faster than all the boys in second grade. And then like third and fourth grade hit, and boom, they got something called testosterone and they could run faster than me. And I was like, curses, curses. I I I need that. How can I get that? And I didn't want or need that. But anyway, like it's like this really deeply woven stereotype, unweaving from the stereotype, embracing like a cyclical nature, embracing the softness and the receptivity that the femininity offers. Like it really is this really wild trip of like surrender, but also like trying to tap into a flow. So I don't know. It's a lot.
I love it. That is so great. Thank you, Sylvia.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thanks for listening.
Anyone else want to share? Or if you want to like some support figuring something out, I want to share what happened in the meditation or anything at all. Like, oh,
I
Maggie,
would like to share. Thank you for offering this, Andrea. I've missed you.
so welcome. It's really great to see you.
I want to talk just because my clarity is muddled. And I think that just starting with what I know to say, I might actually get a little more clarity. That I've been very focused on substituting in the public schools to make enough money. And school ended and I kind of just fell off a ledge, like that was my whole thing. Keep up my energy, sleep enough, eat enough, go within with schools. And so I'm kind of reformulating myself now that I have time. And it was very hard work in the schools. And so in my meditation, as far as finding my, as I see it, being of light, she had this big like sorrow or fear, like covering, the light. And so I just sat with it. And I'm 73 and I'm coming up to some kind of operations I have that aren't disease based, but are just aging. Like I have to have cataracts removed. And I grew up in Florida. I got way too much sunshine and everybody I know has already had them removed. But in the process of getting up to the point of getting removed, you start losing vision because the insurance companies won't pay for it until it's really bad. And so I have kind of a glow around things, and I'm a painter, and I read a lot, so I'm just proportionately concerned about it since it's not a disease process. Or not doing exploratory surgery to see what the problem is. They know what it is, and it's very straightforward. It's a very simple hour-long operation. Hardly anybody dies from it, And so I just had to, and another one too, that's based just on aging, like use. And so I had to look at it and talk to it, and be like, okay, honey, it's not going to be pleasurable, neither of these are going to be fun, but they're going to be time limited. And there's a few things in aging that Western medicine's figured out really well, like knee replacement, hip replacements, and lens in your eyes replacement. And it's like people get youth back in that part of their body. And so I feel better from feeling that, not just trying to be strong or cover it up, you know, because it's just always there, this kind of fear. And so talking to myself helped. And then when I thought about the path, I feel kind of flaky and wishy-washy, like, oh, the path, where did the path go? What did it look like? And all I got was believe, Maggie, believe. And so I have a place to start. Keeping the fear of 2 surgeries that are very straightforward surgeries and will improve my life, in the place where they belong, which is thankful for Western medicine, that cataracts causes blindness all over the world, and yet it's a really simple operation. I'm in a country where I can get it. And when I think about like my dream place, it's really nature, like to live by a stream and to grow food and to grow flowers and play music and be in the rhythm of the earth. And so I do that the best I can, living in an apartment with a parking lot outside. And I have a garden at a community garden, which I garden so much. And so I know I don't have to know how it's going to happen. And it helped me get back to like nurturing that change is hard. It's hard to put 9 months into a job that was really intense and then it's over. And then I didn't have time to follow up on these health things. And now I do, darn it. And so I have to deal with them. But all of it has like grace in it, you know, that I love the kids and it feels like important work and that I have insurance. And so it really takes me reflection, like what am I feeling, and not just carrying it around like I have to keep going carrying this whatever it is, when it's something I could talk to myself about.
Yeah.
So I think that this is a good place for me to start. I already, just talking this much, I feel lighter. And so thank you.
Thank you. And I think also I just want to send a little like validity to all of the fears that come up, because even when procedures are simple, the ways that our bodies change as we age can be scary. And but yeah, like those feelings are always valid, right? Like you said, we don't need to take for them to take over or anything, but we can send love to them, validate and honor them for sure. That's like a huge part. If we just do that consistently as a practice, everything else about moving towards where we want to be becomes easier because we're not dragging those things. Thank you, Maggie. I appreciate that. Sharing.
Thank you.
Victoria, did you come on to share something? Or you?
Actually, yes, I did. In the meditation, I saw my, excuse me, I saw my path forward as like a page out of a children's coloring book. And it was like, you color it in, but there was this path that was like, starts in the lower left and goes to the upper right and just curves along. And it's like, okay, this was the first time I actually saw something clearly.
Yay.
I've done meditations before, and it's like I see the point A and I see the point B, but I didn't see the path between. And it's like when the path appeared, of course, then my guides, being the silly creatures that they are, said all of a sudden I started hearing, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road. Okay, fine. I have actually been progressing along. I have I reactivated one of my blogs earlier this year, and then I added. I'm on Substack now, and I'm doing like a more personal blog over there, and I started a couple months ago putting up intuitive readings for the month on YouTube. So it's like I'm actually getting, things are finally coming together, but it's like my big challenge is I have long COVID.
Mm.
So the pulmonary and cardiac stuff, not so much, but mainly it's about my brain. It's been rewired and it fries more easily. So it's a matter of trying to do the things within these new parameters. Because before I got COVID, I'd be like, just okay, I have my plan, I have an idea what I'm doing, I would just go. And now it's like I have to pace myself, otherwise I get fried really super easily, and then I have to go lie down at a dark place for timeout for a little while. So my challenge is getting things put together and moving along the path in these new with these new more restrictive boundaries. And it's like I I haven't actually had an opportunity to work for like a year and a half, because I can't look at a screen for very long periods of time otherwise, and everything is screen based now, and it's like I can't do that. So I'm now at the point where I'm like, okay, can I put together something that doesn't involve a lot of screen time, and but allows me to still be and share and do things. So I've done some house sitting and some pet sitting, and I also started getting back into my energetic healing work, which is I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do that. The long COVID affects the rational parts of my brain, but not the intuitive parts for some reason. It's like when I step into energy work, when I step into spell casting, when I step into in more intuitive space, nothing's problem, everything flows, and it's just wonderful. It's like, yeah, and it's a little challenging to be in that place all the time because I still am not really a super intense caregiver right now, but I still have to keep an eye on my husband, because I was caregiving for my mom and my husband for the longest time, and then in 2021 my mom lost her ability to walk, and she's now in a facility, so I managed to step back from that a bit. I'm no longer directly involved with her, but my husband, with his migraines basically and other things, it's like I still have to keep an eye on him, manage his meds mainly, but a couple of other things. When both of our brains are working, then it's like we can actually get stuff done. But sometimes it's a matter of, okay, my brain's not working, how's your brain? Not so good. Oh dear. We might not get a lot done. So and I like the fact that you're doing these calls for the summers, because it's a way for me to actually connect with other folks who are also trying to figure out steps and such, and just actually seeing a path that I can color in, so to speak. It's like that speaks to me, and I'm like looking forward to seeing what all I can do. And the interesting thing was when I zoomed in a little bit as to the immediate next step, then I got several different forks coming up in the road. So it's like, okay, this is going to be a choose your own adventure type thing. All right. So I will explore my options and see which one comes up for me. And so it's a matter of continuing to put together something that will support me, perhaps not in a conventional sense, but I was getting sick of working conventional jobs anyway, and looking for a way to move into a different direction. So it's like, long COVID is giving me the opportunity to do that, whether I want to or not. So it's a matter of all this has been a challenge. Okay, how can I see the most positive, enthusiastic reaction to what I'm facing right now? So it's been a challenge, and yes, there have been times when it's like when I've been like, oh, I wish I was the person I used to be. But I'm so far, the lemonade I've been making from my lemons has been pretty tasty. So
That's so great.
so yes, happy to be here.
Yeah, I also feel like my brain doesn't work the way it used to, and it's been really disorienting to figure out how do I move forward. And I was gonna write about this on my blog tomorrow, but if you remember, I made that like a mug that said "slow the fuck down," and then the other side it said "be as powerful, creative, and magnetic as you are," because that's what my dream sent me about how to navigate that. And then we did classes on that earlier this year, but then so I had this mug, and yesterday on Saturday on the full moon, my husband broke it. Like he didn't mean to, but he knocked it and it fell, and I just like started crying, and I was just like, I needed that mug. You don't understand. And then I realized, actually, maybe it's done because it was such an important thing, and like maybe it's like okay, I can like slowing down is so important for reevaluating, and then there's a time to figure out not speed up, but like what does momentum look like for me now? What does flow look like for me now? How do I like what do I want to do? Because creative people tend to want to create, that we shouldn't rush all the time and work hard, but we want to do the things we want to do. So yeah, I feel like, and not just me or you, but like that we're finding new ways of relating with that and figuring out how to move through things. Some because we have to if our brains aren't working the same way. And some just people just noticing that there's a better way to be.
Yeah, I've got the slowing down part down, but I'm still working on the being the creative, powerful, magnetic.
Yeah, yeah. Because that part of us knows. So did you get a sense of what you could play around with this week?
I think I'm going to have to do the replay to dial in because I was messing around with cats earlier. But now that they're settling down a little, I'm going to go back to the replay and really just sit and.
Also, I love what you said about just seeing a path is something. And like honestly, just seeing yourself as a person with a path is a practice. Like, and then in time it turns into something else. But sometimes we feel like we should do something effective immediately. And I think like something like, oh, I'm a person with a path, like that's a really valid step. So yeah. Thank you, Victoria. And I look forward to seeing you too on the calls as we go through this over.
Yep.
Anyone else? Lynn?
I can share the vision that I got. I don't know what it means. I guess I'm just supposed to follow the rule or follow the guidance. Basically, an image came to me. It was kind of funny. It was a fairy. I don't usually see fairies, but and it led me to another goddess like person who just pointed a scepter, and and it was and kind of made a swooping gesture, and I looked to where it was directing, and it's a straight path. There's fields on either side, but it's tree lined and not the pretty farmhouse kind of beautiful magnolia tree line things. It was more rambly and somewhat wild, not dark and scary. It's still very light, but which led into mountains. And basically the all I got out of it from the goddess like creature was you just have to follow that path, that boring path, because it's the only way to get there. I have no idea what that is all about.
What isn't that
It's just what happened in the meditation. It's just what it was. So there you have it.
I think it's amazing. That's like the boring path of like any change we make in our lives, any habits, any creative work, it is boring. Like in the day to day, a lot of it is boring. Just like,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes we can get distracted looking for, well, is there an easier way? Is there a flashier way? Is there like magic that will help me just, but it's like actually the magic is showing up every, looking at our habits, and just taking those little steps. So I love that for you. I really and that there's like fairies and a goddess and it's all very, there's magic there, but then it's like
Yeah.
it's in the boring stuff.
Hmm.
You see some ways this week that's the what you could work on.
Yeah, I think it kind of relates back to a few of the things that have gone astray for me, but are still very important for myself, which something like walking. That to me used to be very exciting for me, and now it's rote now. It's like, oh, I had to, I have to do that. I know I have to do that, but there's this, somebody said in one of our other calls, there's a magnet in the couch and the other side of it's in my behind, that's really the case. I think that maybe some of those boring things are, that getting back to just those rudimentary things, that make a big difference in here, and also in, my general um, physiological health. Exercise is good for you, but I think that might be it. Just getting back to writing down things that I need to do and think about actually checking the box.
Yeah, making a to-do list
Um,
boring again.
because I've just been not forcing myself to do it, just doing whatever came to mind, whatever I felt like doing. But
Yeah, and there's
now I'm moving into that sort of energy.
yeah,
So
there's a real balance between like forcing ourselves to do the things and then like just resisting, like procrastinating all the things.
yeah,
Like we do go back and forth, but there's a place where we can just know that like this will make me feel better, this will make me happy, this leads to where I want to be. And almost like I'm doing this as an act of love for my future self and even for my present self.
yeah.
We can't always be in that place, right? So sometimes we have to push ourselves a little, sometimes we have to resist a little. So
Mhm.
that's great. I love that you'll have that imagery this week of the fairy and the goddess, like reminding you of the importance of the boring stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? You can just unmute yourself and come on and chat, or leave something in the group chat.
I can chat if you like. My dream self came as the old crone, which I was like, wow, so dreamy. But she was the most wisest part of myself, like that aged, fully knowing of where I've come from. And she told me that the wisest path is the one with the ups and downs. Nothing's ever flat. And so keep connecting with the people who I'm drawn to and claim and allow fluidity of who I am. Then the question of what practices that I can do on a daily basis. It was more about having some quiet time, like conscious quiet time, and acknowledgement of the moments of the little moments, like even if it's just kind of a breath and I'm just here at this next place. Yeah. So not a lot of hard work. Look at that. As we know, that's not the case.
Yeah, I like it. That feels really reassuring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also find that kind of being aware of the moments and quiet time, especially, like that's so magical.
Well, because I'm usually so much in my head and like there's so much inner chatter all the time that to have that quiet point will be it will be a miracle. So
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rosanna. Anyone else, just feel free to jump on. I was also going to say that's a theme I've been noticing a lot is around people feeling the call to be more focused, present, deep, those kinds of words where it's like, not necessarily I'm on the wrong path or doing the wrong thing, but there's that calling to go deeper. And it feels like a part of the times that we're in, like all this change happening in the world, and like really reevaluating of priorities. And some people, when they talk about it, it feels like, oh, I've been wasting time, I've been too shallow, I've been like letting my fears get in the way. And I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just we've been doing great and we're at the next stage and we could do even greater, or in terms of just being more connected to our own truth and how we're living. So it feels really exciting to me. Like I can't entirely put it all into words yet, but these are some of the gifts of practice and showing up even when you don't know what to do. Everything's a total mess, just like making space to be with yourself there. And, being with yourself includes like the mess, the fears, and also the wisdom and the creativity and the ideas and the inspiration and the things you love. And so the more we make space for all of that, we naturally move towards being who we are, which includes our dreams. So it's really exciting to me. And I am still figuring out what we do on these calls exactly too. So, this will evolve as we go over the summer as well. And I just want to say, any questions, any thoughts, like if you're watching the replay too, you could send me an email. Yeah.
I would love to share one more thought of something that I just have been playing with recently and I think could be of value to everyone. It's this book I've been reading that's called Create First, Consume Second. And the whole idea is don't check your phone in the morning. That's the essence. If you want the one line, don't check your phone in the morning. Instead, go to the page, go to the pottery wheel, go to the canvas, go to whatever it is that is lighting you up, because here's why, and this is huge. All of our dopamine receptors are fried. And so when we check our phone first thing and we get that red notification, someone commented, that's a false sense of dopamine that makes us feel proud of something that then makes it way harder to actually create something and then be proud of ourselves. So I feel like I've done this the last like 4 mornings or so, and it's so hard. One morning I failed. I just started checking my email. I'm like, no, I failed. I did it. I checked my sales, check my email, no, I did it. And it's because it's like, you have to literally like put your phone in a box or put it off to the side. And it's just like this idea of just write ideas that come to you. I like to have 2 pages going, stream of consciousness and idea list. So just want to throw that out there in case someone else is lit up by that kind of nonsensical all over the placeness. But doing that before I consume anything, I feel like is truly resetting my dopamine receptors in a way that I can create work that I'm proud of, see through a hard task versus like, it's too hard, and then getting that cheap dopamine from a notification or a comment or whatever. So I just wanted to share that in case someone else would benefit from that.
That's so cool, Sylvia. And we actually, someone brought that up. We had a call on Friday in Dreambook and someone brought that up there too. She was like, yeah, like this, the time for this. And
yeah, that's like the environmental factor of like, we're so hard on ourselves. Like, I just can't focus. What's wrong with me? You are in a matrix that has been designed to keep you distracted because it just makes them more money if they keep you on their platform. And so while I do use social media for my business and email for my business and all of these things, I want to be the master, not the servant. And so I feel like retraining that where you can create first and consume second, it really is, to me, kind of like the powerful path forward to doing more meaningful work, being able to go deep, knowing your own mind, not being as distractible. So to me, that like just one simple shift in the morning has really made a big difference.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
Hello,
Oh, hey, Milliers, how are you doing?
I'm okay. I have also been trying to meditate before I check my phone in the morning, not always successfully, but it's always better when I do. What came through in the meditation with you today was like stepping stones, like really discrete, like paving stones set into, well, first they were set into a lawn, and then I remembered this photo from when I was a little kid, of my dad helping me and my brother to like step between big, well, they seemed like huge boulders at the time. I mean, they were bigger than we were as kind of 3 and 4 year olds, that were like along the edge of a lake. So water in between the boulders, and like really like the full stretch of my leg to get from one of stone to another, and my dad kind of helping me to do it. And it's like I've got all of these things, all of these discrete tasks, projects that are part of the dream work. And it's a stretch right now. It's really a stretch. And now's the week to remember my dad. So he came along in this meditation.
Yeah, wondering how he helped you take those steps.
Yeah.
Really sweet.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't particularly helpful in real life, but you know, as a dad to a 4-year-old, he wasn't bad. He was there in that moment holding my hand. Thanks, Dad. Yeah.
Do you have a sense of what you have that helps supports you now to take those big steps?
Yeah. You know, a big part of it is Dream Book. I mean, Dream Book's such a big part of my life.
Yeah.
The calls and the practices. And I mean, that's why I do look at my phone first thing in the morning, but I just go straight to the folder where all the little Dream Book
Right.
bookmarks are, and I just click into the meditation that I'm going to do, which I generally do by, first of all, going to my journal where I have the alchemy wheels for dream work, inner work, outer work that we do in the new moon call. And I'm like, okay, what's kind of the most valuable thing to do this morning's meditation on? And it's there in the little alchemy wheel. And so then I know which bookmark to click on my phone. And as long as I can do that little bit of the process without getting distracted,
Yeah.
that's how I start my day every day, with your voice, Andrea.
That's really beautiful.
So it is like you're kind of handing me over these boulders, helping me along. Yeah.
Well, it's cool too, because as you share what's happening with you, I know that supports others in the group as well. And that like just that energy of taking these steps together. And then they don't feel quite as big. I think that's like right, because it feels and I think that's one of the problems with our culture right now, like that we're all on our own, we're all supposed to achieve success on our own, but actually like we grow in community, and we're really need to live in community in ways that we kind of can't under capitalism, but like this is a little way that we can be together, and that is a form of support. So that's, thank you, Meliors, it is really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. I can't even begin to explain how valuable this work is for me, and has been for the last 3 years, really. I joined kind of early on in the pandemic, and I don't know how I would have, well, I certainly wouldn't have written and published a book in this time. But could I have even survived everything that's happened in the last 3.5 years? I don't know.
Mm. Well, thank you. I did not mean for this to be a testimonial, but thank you, Villiers.
I didn't mean it either, but that's you asked me what makes a difference, and that's the truth. So
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah, thanks.
And there is a note. Oh, first, what is the name of the book? I believe the name of the book was Create First, Consume Second. Is that right, Sylvia?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. And
Joshua Sprague, I think. Joshua something S word. I think it'll pop up.
Oh, and then there was another one, but that's a direct message, so I'm going to not read that on the video. But I will say that this person said one thing was they're feeling a bit slow, and so they are mapping out what may be possible this week. I just want to say, like, that's a really valid step. Like, sometimes when we think about steps, we think that it should be measurable, we should like make significant progress, but like spending time and thinking about what might be possible this week, that's a step. Like, those are actually the real steps. Spending time like sitting with your fear, spending time just contemplating how you might want to do it next week. Like, these are all the things that actually get you moving. And sometimes we feel like, especially if we're not moving at all with our dreams or very slowly, we feel like we have to do something significant. But it's actually, like we were hearing from Lynn, it's the boring things, and it's the tiny things, and it's just like giving yourself a little bit of space. Like, that is what starts to make a difference. And I know we all want to see remarkable progress, but we don't get there in one step. So like, I'll say every time I've coached someone and we've talked about steps, every single time when they've named a step, it's been way too big. And we're like, okay, let's break that down, and then let's break that down, and like, let's like a little step, something that's literally doable. Like today, like that's a step. And so keep thinking about how to make it smaller, because everything that I wrote in that guide about practice and how there's like healing and magic available to you there, it comes from just those little steps of engaging, finding your way in. So also listening to these calls every week, that's a step. Just like it gets you thinking in a different way, right? Like, we can really go easy on ourselves about what are the steps we're taking, and like let things happen in time, and then trust too that your dream is your soul calling you towards yourself. You do have this in you, so it's not that you have to create everything yourself. It's like allowing yourself to be who you are, right? You won't have to do every single bit of heavy lifting, if that makes sense. And it can feel that way, especially when you're starting, but like, this is who you are. You have all this magic in you, and it's gonna come out as long as you stay in the process. That's the only thing that I do. So yeah, so I hope that these calls every week help us stay in the process. I guess that's a big goal for me too, finding ways to do that. Does anyone else want to share anything before we end?
One thing I did want to say is the ways that we used to do stuff aren't going to work. Basically, with the big pandemic, it's like there was this huge this is my interpretation. Okay, I am kind of an intuitive person, but disclaimer. Yes, the pandemic just like pushed a huge reset button, I feel like, and the ways we used to do stuff aren't going to cut it anymore. So we're all kind of in the process of figuring out, okay, how do we go about doing stuff now? Now that we're actually emerging and looking around, taking inventory about what's still standing and what is completely collapsing. It's like, okay, now what? After we make our tea, now what?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, because I love the one thing that used to be on the Trader Joe's green tea bags. She was the type of pragmatist who would be found making tea first thing after Armageddon. Quote from Clive Barker's Weaver World. I'm not sure if I'm saying it exactly, but like that kind of, yeah, let me make my tea, let me settle down and sit with my morning pages. Okay, now what?
Yeah.
We go from there. So
Very into yourselves.
yes, it's like we're just been given this whole, okay, we can totally reinvent everything. So it's
And
just a matter of,
we have to actually.
yeah, it's just a matter of shutting out the distractions long enough for us to hear, okay, what needs to come forth? Okay, with that, I will bow out.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. And I appreciate that. We're in like a wild time. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. It looks like someone just joined and maybe had the time wrong because we are just ending. But we will be back next week at the same time. And thank you everyone for being here on this first one where like this is pretty brave. And I really, really appreciate each of you and everyone who's watching the replay and like taking time to do this. Yay, it's all very brave. Thank you. And I really look forward to seeing how this evolves over the summer. So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day and sending all the magic to you for your practicing your dreams this week.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.